What if The Rock never left WWE in 2002? No Hollywood, no Scorpion King, just straight up domination in a squared circle. Could he have crushed Cena's rise, faced HBK at WrestleMania, or turned heel and ruled the Ruthless aggression era? We're about to rewrite WWE history. It's me versus Matt Burns, and you get to decide who booked it better.
Wrestling history is built on moments, decisions that shaped careers, defined eras, and changed the business forever. But what if things had happened differently? What if a single choice, a twist of fate, or an alternate path rewrote the stories we all know? Come with us as we step into the multiverse of wrestling and ask the question, what if?
Hey, it's Scott Barratt, and you're back with the burning truth. And I'm here with a man who's more electrifying than The Rock, with a mic in one hand and a booking pen in the other. It's the Sultan of storylines himself. It's Matt Burns, everybody. You're on mute, Matt Burns. You're on mute. Good job. The applause is coming.
I was striking a pose. That's what I was doing.
Strike a pose. And a bit of a different episode for us this week, Matt. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit unique. It's the marvel that we've got with this absolute genius idea that we've got, which is what if. Now, we've done
the burning truth. What if? Yeah,
we've done one aspect of the what if, which I got thrown in the deep end.
yeah. We trialed it on an episode of the pod last week, the week before. You had a go. Did a really good job, actually, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, seen as I'm not the planner. I'm not the planner. Yeah, you know, you have one who's, the order, and the other one who's the chaos.
And you are the chaos of this podcast, Matt Burns. That is true.
When it comes to actually organizing the actual planning, and planning certain things like pre-booking, rebooking and everything, I pretty much have the chaos mentality. When it comes to when it comes to the structure of the podcast itself, I'm the order and you're the chaos. so we switch. Yeah. So it's nice.
I think it's fair to say, Matt Burns, on this team, I'm the Seth Rollins and you're the Dean Ambrose. I think that's pretty much where we are.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go with that.
Now, we haven't planned any segments for this week, Matt Burns, because what we wanted to do was jump straight into what if and take turns today on our topic, which is what if The Rock never left WWE in 2002 for Hollywood. But I would like, if it's all right with you, just to take a brief detour to a segment that we call The News. And the reason I want to go straight to the news is there's news coming out today. I've had this through tjrwrestling.net, but there's a story out there that Saudi Arabia may buy WWE as part of its Vision 2030 program.
Is this linked with the speculated rumor of TKO wanting to sell WWE as well?
So WWE heads to Saudi Arabia this week. June 27th, SmackDown, followed by Night of Champions on Saturday, will be held there. 3 major title matches were also announced for the Blue Brand. Women's champion Tiffany Stratton's going to face Nia Jax in a last woman standing match. Zelina Vega defending her Women's United States Championship against Julia. And the Street Profits putting their tag titles on the line against the Wyatt Six. But the Stanford-based company struck a lucrative deal with Saudi Arabia to host events in the country as part of its Saudi Vision 2030. Over the time, or the last 10 years or so, the number of PLEs over there has gradually increased. Not so long ago, it was officially announced that the 2026 Royal Rumble is going to take place in Ryder, and that's the first time we've ever had the Royal Rumble outside of North America. It's interesting that this news story probably, it could be something, it could be nothing, because it actually comes from Stevie Richards initially. And what he said is that, talking about Vince McMahon's future involvement in WWE, now he successfully established working relationships with Saudi. He also mentioned the possibility of the Saudis acquiring the company as part of this Saudi Vision 2030 campaign. He said, Vince McMahon still has, I believe, a strong connection to the Saudis, but they may take over WWE or buy it, say, in the next 30 years for the 2030 thing they're trying to do. I'm going to throw a flag and say that I think this is just speculation and a bit of rubbish, but I also think it's a possibility. It's certainly out there as a possibility. I would not be surprised if Saudi Arabia eventually did purchase WWE. You know, I think about TKO as a brand, as a business. This is not a family business that wants to hold the company forever. They will have an exit strategy. These guys are in it to make money, right?
Yeah.
Do not think for a second TKO are going to own WWE long term, because they're not.
No, they're not, because as much as they've got their UFC, right, and everything, which has been like a. But
I also don't think UFC is a long term investment for them. As soon as they can spin that for more money, I think it's out.
I think it will be, because UFC has actually changed hands multiple times. Zuffa, TKO, and everything. It's actually changed hands about 3 or 4 companies, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the problem that you've got is, now that it's out of Vince McMahon's hands, and sort of the real question, and this is where I think it all lies in, it all lies within the speculation of, what does Nick Khan want from this himself?
Yeah.
I think he'll be one of the deciding factors of whether we get AEW staying exactly where it is, or I wouldn't even be remiss that if TKO does actually sell it, if it's not the Saudis, I can see a certain $1 company productions possibly trying wanting to lean into it. Agreed
totally. Let's move on. We haven't got too long on this podcast today, because there's a few more stories that I want to get to. I actually want to talk about AEW, if that's okay. So, popular match to return at AEW, again, taken from TJR Wrestling today. But the Casino Gauntlet match will be at All In for the first time at All In Texas. Sorry, it might have been the first time last year, but it's back this year. Sorry. All In Texas, the Casino Battle Royal will take place. So I'm quite excited about that. I quite like the Casino Gauntlet.
You're not the only one, but there's an additional notice as well that I've got to throw on here. The most recent show of AEW was in Mexico, correct?
Correct.
There was a bit of an after show moment that happened. Do you know about this?
Is this right? So my next piece of news is also AEW and concerns Mercedes Moné and Tony Storm.
Mine doesn't. The one that I was about
to. Okay, go on. I'll let you go first, then, and we'll finish up with Mercedes and Tony.
A certain Mexican wrestler, got rescued, and it's from a person who hasn't been in AEW for ages.
Yeah. Yes. We know who you're talking about. Yeah, Bryan Danielson made his return post-show, not on TV, which makes me think it could be a one-off, that it was non-televised. That's all.
It might be a one-off, which is he is currently in the background working in their production side. Yeah, which I think is actually a really good idea.
Yeah, really good way to use him. Yeah,
utilize his experience. But that Casino Gauntlet match, it's a nice little fitting place, that is, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, my next piece of AEW news. Then you're going to love this. This has really piqued my attention. This feud, and it's Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm, and the explosive promo this week on Collision. And I'm going to read. So I'm going to read word for word, verbatim, what was said by Toni Storm. Now, I want to say this as nicely as possible, Mercedes. I'm not some other motherfucker. I'm timeless, Toni Storm. I am the AEW Women's World Champion. And if you make one false move, I'm going to eat you alive. I'm sold on this. I am. I'm actually going to watch All In. I'm going to watch All In this year because I want to see Mercedes and Toni. I want to see the best female wrestling star of the last 12 months, Toni Storm, versus the worst female wrestling star of the last 12 months.
Basically, what you're trying to see is if Toni Storm can wrestle with a broom.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we know she can promo with one. So, yeah. I mean, they've built it up perfectly for me. It really, it's got my attention. They're using two really credible characters.
Yeah,
one for all the right reasons, one for all the wrong reasons, and they've put them together for the biggest show of their year. It's really good booking at a really good time. I just wish the rest of the show was as well booked as this.
Yeah, no, I can get where you're coming from. For me, with the whole Mercedes Moné, the only issue I have lately is I feel as though Mercedes Moné has been getting far too much. It's like she's just, wrestling in Mexico. Right, I've got so many belts. Somehow she's now acquired the CMLL championship, but at an AEW event.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I understand that you're trying to make a name, but just putting belts on somebody doesn't mean you're a worthwhile name. Now, I feel as though with Mercedes Moné, that when she's actually got a credible opponent, she can pull out some magic at times.
Yeah.
She can. But that's when it's under strict guidelines, certain addresses where timeless Toni Storm has been absolutely timeless with anybody.
She's been brilliant, yeah. Right, okay. Let's move on to my last piece of news then. Going from one women's feud to another women's feud, this one in the WWE. It might be heating up with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair again, Matt Burns. Becky's quote in an interview this week: I surpass it every time I step outside the curtain. The great Charlotte Flair. I am the greatest to ever do it. And it's not just me saying it. Other people are saying it. A lot of other people are saying it. Sports Illustrated said it. So when it comes to Evolution, whoever wants to step to me, that's Becky Lynch speaking. Whether it be Bayley, whether it be Lyra, it can be Nikki Bella, I'll take them all on. So she did bring it back to what was happening on TV. But she was asked about that first Evolution where she had the 30-minute last woman standing match with Charlotte. And she just basically said, I'm better than Charlotte. Sports Illustrated said so. The end. Which I love. I love the confidence from Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
And that's a real feud with Charlotte Flair. I love that they don't like each other. It makes it.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be Charlotte.
No, but eventually we're going to revisit that and it's going to be very good.
I do think we do. But at the same time, I think this is going to be the Nikki Bella feud.
Yeah.
Continuation. But seeing as the original plan for Nikki Bella has been suddenly sidelined, if that makes any sense. However, I can add on to a little bit of news for you with what you just said for Charlotte. I feel as though Charlotte's going to be a little bit busy with Piper Niven. Because Piper Niven put out a post. Have you seen it? Please tell me you've seen it.
I haven't seen the post, no.
She's literally going in and saying, how she's, how certain individuals have done amazingly well and everything, over years and years of practice. They don't always intend, it looked like she was intending to say she doesn't aim to injure anybody. However, unfortunately, on SmackDown, I did not walk away injuring Charlotte Flair. I'm like, whoa!
And I suppose the last thing, it is madness. I suppose the last thing I want to cover, though, Matt Baines, I don't know if you've seen this, is just about the pipe bomb from Friday Night SmackDown. Or should I call it the goof bomb?
Wait, can I put that on hold? Because I feel as though we need to have that be the end of the news.
That's my last thing, yeah.
No, I've got one more thing to cover.
Oh, okay. One more thing, matey.
One more thing. It'll actually lead into your little goof bomb, because there's speculation that someone's got one more match in their belt.
Okay. I can't, I've heard this. I can't see it, but carry on.
Stone Cold Steve Austin supposedly has one more under his belt, and they're sitting there trying to throw out the speculation that they're going to try and get the actual, the dream match of dream matches of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk.
It would be good.
It would be good, but I
just can't see it.
I just don't think it's the right time myself personally.
It's too late. It's
a bit too late. I feel as though when the time was ripe, they could have done it. They didn't pull the trigger.
The right time was 2014, 2013, 2014. The time's passed. Right, okay, so leading on from that is the pipe bomb, which included CM Punk, the famous CM Punk pipe bomb that was spoofed or goofed this week by John Cena. I'm calling it the goof bomb because it was a bit goofier than the original pipe bomb. It was a bit goofier than the original CM Punk one. Hopefully you've all seen it. If you haven't, go find it on YouTube and come back to us. But interestingly, all the talking heads online are speaking about it, and your best mate, your best mate, bro, your best mate Vince Russo. He said, "Bro, I'm gonna say it, bro." I'm not gonna do the voice. I talked to some people inside WWE. I'd never say who it is. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. They told me weeks ago when this angle started, Cena is doing all his own stuff. Nobody is telling John Cena what to do. Nobody is producing John Cena. Nobody is writing for John Cena. John Cena is going out there and doing what he wants to do. He continued. Cena cut a reality-based promo, which is the best thing I've seen on any wrestling show in the last 10 years. Let me be clear. That's not Triple H. That's not the creative. That's not the office. I don't know how much of that I believe.
I don't believe a single word of that, as much as he may want you to believe it. But the thing is, it's still down to Triple H and everybody in the back to allow Cena to continue.
Absolutely. But I enjoyed it, and that's the main thing. I enjoyed the pipe bomb, or the goof bomb, as we're going to call it on this channel. Shall we get into some what ifs, Matt Baines?
Well, before we get there,
oh my God. Before we get there, you're obsessed with just interrupting.
I have to. As I said, I'm the leader of chaos right now. But I think the whole goof bomb was really, really good, because as much as someone could sit there saying, "Oh, he's just rehashing the same promo and everything,"
absolutely.
The funny thing about it is and it isn't, because the difference between the two of them, Punk got absolutely cut off at the end of his. Cena didn't. He even mocked the fact that he didn't get cut off, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. And the fact that he's naming names from other companies, including rival companies, well, supposedly rival companies, but I don't think it is, personally, because I feel as though WWE needs AEW as much. Well, no, WWE does.
Let's keep it on the tracks. John Cena, CM Punk. Mentioning those other characters, those other wrestlers from other companies, stroke of genius. But CM Punk did that as an act of defiance in the pipe bomb against the guys backstage who were holding him down, if you like, the Vince McMahon, the John Laurinaitis. John Cena didn't have that. His main gripe is the fans. So him giving fan service in that promo, it was a nice moment to goof up the original pipe bomb, but it wasn't anywhere near as effective as when.
There's only one name that would have actually probably struck a chord if he said it.
Hey, Vince McMahon, how you doing?
Hey, Jack Perry.
Oh, that'd have been good too. Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been good. I think mine was good too. Hey, Vince McMahon. Hey, Jack Perry.
Oh, hey,
good.
Mr. McMahon.
Anyway. I bet that would. Do you know what? That would have been more likely if he didn't have a great relationship with him. Cena and McMahon are quite tight, aren't they? Yeah. Right, let's move on. Let's do what if. We're gonna flip a coin. Who gets to go first?
Uh-oh.
Heads or tails?
Tails.
Tails. So you can choose who's going first. Matt Burns.
You.
I'll go first. That's fair. This is my what if The Rock never left WWE in 2002 for Hollywood. Comments in the chat, if you will. I'm going to take you through now my what if, and hopefully it's everything you ever dreamed it would be. So let's roll it back. SummerSlam 2002. Brock Lesnar versus The Rock for the undisputed title. In real life, this was the night the torch was passed. Brock wins clean. Rock gets booed out of Long Island, and within weeks he's off to Hollywood, and history goes the way we know it. But what if he didn't leave? What if the Scorpion King flopped? The movie buzz died out, and Hollywood slammed the door shut on Dwayne Johnson. What if The Rock had to stay? Let's say that's what happened. The Rock got no big film career in waiting. He's still a megastar, still beloved, but he's stuck. He's only a star in the WWE. And after losing clean to Brock, the crowd still turns on him. They're not sad he's leaving. They're singing, na, 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 hey, 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 goodbye. And that is where our story starts. The next night on Raw, he doesn't cut the usual farewell promo. He doesn't even yell. He just stares out at the crowd. He smirks a little bit and he says something like, I don't know, you booed The Rock because you got bored. You turned your backs. You cheered Brock like he was your new king, and that's fine. The Rock's not your hero anymore. The Rock is the one you threw away. And that's the turn. But it's not a flashy heel turn. There's no shades of Hollywood swagger. This is darker. It's slow burn. It's a bit of a breakdown. A man once adored is now walking through the company like a ghost. And who does he take that anger on? Well, to begin with, it's Edge. Someone who's just starting to find his footing. He's getting a love for the crowd. Exactly the kind of guy they once knew. Sorry, I got the dog biting my ankle here. He's this kind of guy similar to The Rock, where they're starting to cheer him because he's starting to act cool, right? And at No Mercy, The Rock cheats to beat Edge. Then at Survivor Series, Edge gets his win back clean, and The Rock snaps. Chair shot, stares, full-on assault. This is no longer the people's champ. This is now a man whose love for the audience has rotted into bitterness. Fast forward then to the Royal Rumble. We've got what did happen at No Way Out between The Rock and Hulk Hogan. We're now doing The Rock and Hogan again, this time at the Royal Rumble. The crowd erupts, they're cheering for nostalgia, once again ignoring The Rock. And he cuts a promo on the road to the Rumble that stings. You worship the past because it doesn't make you uncomfortable. You cheer Hogan because it's easy. But The Rock reminds you that time moves forward, that the past doesn't last forever. And if you want a memory match, fine. The Rock will give you one to forget. And The Rock beats Hogan at the Rumble. Cheats, hold the ropes, and walks off mid-celebration. No posing, just contempt. And that builds us towards WrestleMania 19. We're still going to do The Rock versus Austin. We've still got this heel Rock character. It's just a different heel Rock. It's the final round, the rivalry that defined an era. But now it's not about pride or bragging rights. It's about validation. The Rock needs to beat Austin this time. He needs to prove that he wasn't a sidekick in their story. He says, you left first, Steve. You walked out. I stayed. I carried this place while you were sitting at home. This isn't about The Rock beating Stone Cold. This is about Stone Cold admitting that The Rock was always better. And they go to war. And this time, Rock wins clean. Austin's done. But The Rock doesn't celebrate. Again, he just stands over the man who haunted his legacy and walks away. empty. After Mania, just as it did on TV, Goldberg debuts and The Rock faces him at Backlash and loses. Bad. Bitterness, it's boiling. And that summer, Evolution's rising. Triple H, Orton, Batista, Flair, they're taking out legends left and right. Batista, Flair, Orton, they target The Rock. Big beatdown, powerbomb through a table, and The Rock's written off TV for a month or so. And The Rock returns after 6 or so weeks, silent, furious, and begins dismantling Evolution one by one. SummerSlam, The Rock versus Flair. Rock gets a win. Unforgiven, The Rock versus Orton. Rock gets a win. No Mercy, Rock versus Batista. An absolute war. And The Rock wins. At Survivor Series, we get a 4-on-4 match where The Rock, Goldberg, Nash, and Booker T take on Evolution. Final 4, The Rock pins Triple H clean. And there's no posing in this moment. It's just a quiet moment as MSG rises to their feet, finally starting to cheer him again. And he mouths something like, "Thank you." And now we're on the build to WrestleMania 20. In this timeline, Benoit does not win the Rumble. There is no Benoit Triple H. Benoit doesn't need a push to be a big babyface on Monday Night Raw because we have The Rock, and The Rock's coming back as the babyface. So the main event after Rock wins the Rumble is Rock versus Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 20. No Benoit, no Shawn Michaels in a triple threat because HBK and The Rock don't get on. Triple H survived the Attitude Era, survived the invasion, survived every challenger except me. I'm not coming for the crown hunter. I'm coming to end this reign of terror. And at WrestleMania 20, at Madison Square Garden, The Rock versus Triple H, 10 years in the making. And this time, The Rock wins the title clean, not for the fans, not for the show, just to remind the world he never needed to leave. And that sort of closes this sort of redemption arc. So we have the heel turn when he gets booed out of the building, when he's leaving, when he's wrestling the Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. And we've almost seen it through the entire Brock Lesnar years now. Brock goes at WrestleMania 20. So The Rock's held Monday Night Raw first as a heel, but then through the babyface sort of effect. And the ripple effect of that happening is huge. Cena, he still rises, but not as fast. SmackDown still is yard, but without the fan base turning on him so early, he doesn't face the same pressure to carry the company because The Rock is there as this perennial babyface going forward. Randy Orton, his turn doesn't happen in 2004 at SummerSlam. It takes the full year. We're not in a rush to take the belt off Benoit. So Randy Orton doesn't end up turning until just before WrestleMania 21. And that's when we get Orton versus Triple H at that WrestleMania 21 main event. It takes the Batista slot. And that's a real earned moment. Batista's turn comes even later, well into 2005. And maybe it builds boils. It means a bit at the time, but it's not even half as impactful as it would have been. One of the biggest effects this Rock staying in WWE has is on Batista's legacy, in that Batista never becomes a world champion. He never needs to. And The Rock, he's still around. He's wrestling through the late 2000s. He's full-time until we get to about 2010, 2011. And then he starts to peter off slightly, just taking casual breaks for a few months at a time. Big matches, big promos, and he never vanishes. In 2011, it's the pipe bomb, but it's not about Cena. It's about The Rock. You want to know why I'm angry? Because I work my ass off in this ring, on this mic, every down night. And while Dwayne shows up, takes the main event spot, soaks in the cheers and leaves, I'm not jealous of The Rock. I'm just tired of pretending this is still his era. And that leads to WrestleMania 28. Eventually, we go through Money in the Bank. We go through the rest of the year, but it eventually leads us to WrestleMania 28, where we get Rock versus Punk for the WWE Championship. And because we keep Punk as a heel, even though that pipe bomb promo, Punk gets his WrestleMania main event at WrestleMania 28. And he defeats The Rock clean, straight edge, best in the world, over the Great One. Is it torch being passed? Not really. The The Rock is still the number one babyface in the business, and we're going to use CM Punk more as a heel because we have The Rock, we have John Cena. You know, we have characters on the roster to fulfill those roles. But I thought it was nice to say that in this alternate reality, it isn't John Cena and The Rock. It isn't John Cena and CM Punk. It's The Rock and CM Punk. WrestleMania 30. Safe to say Daniel Bryan and the Yes movement doesn't happen. Daniel Bryan always goes down as a what if in this world. He was really over as a babyface, but he never got a world title. He never got a WWE title. He never got a WrestleMania main event. He may have won a world title, but very similar to the likes of Dolph Ziggler, very much a what if of professional wrestling. And that's WrestleMania 30. But if you fast forward then even further through to WrestleMania 38 in 2022, The Rock was still going sporadically right up until 2022. And then we finally decided to do it at WrestleMania 38. Roman Reigns as the dominant, undisputed champion, tribal chief, head of the table. There's only one challenge left, and it's the man who built the table. It's The Rock versus Roman. I would have done this at WrestleMania 38. The match is brutal, emotional, personal. Roman wins clean. Rock lies there, breathing heavy and smiling. Roman extends a hand. The Rock takes it. They stand together. One generation built it. The other now rules it. And The Rock, the man who never left, finally walks away, retires at the end of WrestleMania 38 on his terms at the absolute top of the game. So what if The Rock never left WWE in 2002? Well, he doesn't just give us a longer career. He gives us a richer one. He becomes the wall every rising star has to climb. He delays Cena, reshapes Orton, deletes Batista and Daniel Bryan, rewrites CM Punk's rise as a heel rather than a babyface. And in the end, he lays down for Roman, not because he had to, but because he knew it was time. The Rock never left. And in this world, Matt Burns, he never needed to. You're on mute. But that is my what if.
I did not expect you to go as long as you did. As far.
Well, I just thought I got in the weeds.
You got in the weeds. Fair enough, fair enough. There is a few differences I might make.
Yeah, you do what you need to do. I suppose feedback for the what if. How would you have booked The Rock if he'd stayed forever and never gone to Hollywood? Make sure you put your suggestions in the comments below or in the live chat, and we'll talk them through as we go. Also, it's free to subscribe. So subscribe to the video just below. Hit the like button. Free to subscribe, man. Just do us a favor. We'll love you forever. And Matt Baines, I think it's time for your what if.
Yeah, and I regret going second.
Ha!
What's that say to you already? I regret going second. Oh, right. For yourself, I'd say we go down the route of Brock still beating The Rock. That needs to happen, because if we don't have that moment, we don't have we don't have Brock Lesnar being the destructive force that he is. Would you agree? Well, I'm pretty sure most of you would agree with that. The only difference is, I would say, still having pulled back for a bit. It's looking like he's going to go for the movie. He's going through his productions, and something just doesn't hit off. And, the look of him doesn't look right. So instead of the film flopping, the directors of the Scorpion King decide to go, he's not working, he's not fitting right. Let's go with somebody else. The movie becomes a smash hit still, but then if you think about it, he's now technically, instead of it being a successful movie star, he's now could be considered a failure at it. So instead of him leaving, it's like he's gone off and he's now trying to reevaluate his life and what he wants to do. So instead, we have him go away from the whole Brock Lesnar situation for a bit to recover from his wounds and everything. And he comes back not quite as electrifying. He's missing, he's missing his groove, per se. He's not, he's not like he's the great one for some unknown reason. It feels like he's lost his machismo. He's lost his head, he's lost his groove. And he's decides to come back, and he's like, what's going on here? It looks like he's flubbing lines and everything, and it's like, what's going on? And he can't figure out what's going on. And as this is going on, and he's having matches, but it's not going as successful. The crowd are trying to chant his name, and it's not working. He's not getting enough oomph out of it, because it feels like he's let everybody down. It feels like he is not the great one anymore, because he's lost the role, he's lost the championship, and right now it feels like he's not the great one anymore. So right now he's contemplating, should he walk away? Should he leave? And he's got some of his biggest challenges, and everything. You've got, it comes to where even Stone Cold even sees the problem, a bit of the problem, and even he's saying, snap out of it. You are the Rock. You are the Rock. You are meant to be my polar opposite. You meant to be, go, find your edge, find your oomph, and everything. Something's not right. And it even goes as far as trying to slap it into him. Nothing's just working. But eventually, he gets some advice. He seems to, someone gives him a phone call, gives him a bit of a pep talk, and literally says to him, and you can see, he's like, no, you're right. I need to get myself out of this funk. Otherwise, I'm not just tarnishing my name. And he eventually goes out there and starts getting some minor wins again, firing back. And people are wondering, who's managed to finally convince The Rock to come around? Because there can't be that many people who could possibly be just as electrifying as The Rock. And The Rock turns around, and eventually, as he's building himself up, and we get it, so he gets to a point where instead of fighting Goldberg, we have Goldberg going to Triple H instead. He instead attempts to fight. He attempts to regain a certain championship, from Brock Lesnar potentially. And we sit there saying, to get back to here, I bet you're all wondering who got me back to where I was. And he goes, and the man I'm going to reveal who it is, I'm going to reveal the week before he's deciding to have his championship match against Brock Lesnar. Because, as we said, I'm going to say he's going to be potentially trying to regain the championship, and I'm just trying to go with it. Let's just say he's going for No Way Out, right? So the show before No Way Out, he decides to reveal that he wants to have the big reveal be. And it's none other than the Soul Man himself, his dad, Rocky Johnson, who's given the pep talk. And so at No Way Out, we've got Brock Lesnar versus The Rock, with Rocky Johnson in his corner, trying to egg on his son, the Soul Man, to try and, get him going, get him the win. And unfortunately, it doesn't pay off. Not quite yet. Lesnar just gets the edge on him, just over. And The Rock's now furious, just now thinking, what have I got to do? What have I got to do to become WWE champion again? And we end up instead having the whole, let's have another match, a rematch potentially with Austin and The Rock to decide the future of it. The only difference is, instead of it being a heel Rock and face, a heel Rock and face Stone Cold, we still keep it as face versus face. And The Rock decides that he is challenging Austin because, seeing as he can't beat Lesnar, why doesn't he beat the one thing he's never done before? Beat the Rattlesnake at WrestleMania. And at WrestleMania 18, it's looking like it's going down the different path. The only difference is, yes, I know most people will probably say the same. Why are you changing the dynamic of it? I feel as that them pair could still do their antics, whether it Rock's face or heel and everything, and it would still be entertaining. And Rock gets the win. He's in disbelief, the fact that he's absolutely broken that curse of his, of the rattlesnake. And he's thinking, could I do it one more time? Could I potentially do it one more time and regain the championship or beat Brock Lesnar? Now, if I'm not mistaken, I'm just trying to think where we were at WrestleMania, right? Because we got Brock Lesnar. Was he champion during that time? No, I don't think he was he? WrestleMania 8. Oh no, he did gain the championship then, because WrestleMania 18 was when Brock landed on his head and won it. So we've got Lesnar back into the championship, but we don't have him. We don't have The Rock going for Brock Lesnar quite yet, because normally this is when it was Backlash, Goldberg come back and everything. Instead of Goldberg going for The Rock, he's going for Triple H in that. Instead, we decided to push Goldberg towards Triple H a little bit early. The Rock, I'd say probably he's still in disbelief over the whole situation with the fact that he's just beaten Austin. Right. So we instead end up having a number one contendership for the WWE Championship. And we have the Big Show versus The Rock, per se. And The Rock gets the big win over Big Show. Eventually, this all leads to Lesnar, the third match. Eventually, I'm just trying to remember the actual events. I'm going to say at Judgment Day. So instead of us having Big Show and Brock, we've got The Rock and Brock. Final time, third time, he finally gets that big win and he regains that championship. He regains his WWE Championship, and he's absolutely beside himself, finally getting it. Over it. Now, during this whole time, we've got the Soul Man in the Rock's corner. While he's sitting there bragging and everything, we've got a rising star in Randy Orton coming up the rankings quickly. Now, instead of the whole Orton incident situation, why don't we tell a little bit of a nostalgia, shall we say, and have Randy Orton teaming with Bob Orton against The Rock and his dad, Rocky Johnson. That would be an excellent feud, I think. I feel as though, because that's a bit of nostalgia. Where I'm going to say I'm going to have some changes compared to your storyline, and everything. Eventually, I would say give The Rock a bit of a good run with the championship. He drops it a few times back to probably Lesnar, probably Big Show somewhere, and everything. But I feel as though where, like you said, with Benoit, with him eventually dropping his title in the original timeline to Randy Orton. What if instead of Benoit, it was The Rock who dropped a championship to Randy Orton? Because at the same time, not only is he dropping the championship to Randy Orton, he's also dropping the youngest ever championship record to Randy Orton as well. That's an interesting dynamic. Later on, when we had the whole rising of Cena and everything, The Rock, what I'm going to do with them two is the fact that The Rock, in this universe, in this what if, he's the failure. Where Cena isn't the failure. And instead of Cena being the face, or being a face, he's a full-on blown heel with The Rock. He's sitting there accusing The Rock of being an absolute failure in making it into the movies where he was successful. And everything. I went off and did the thing that you couldn't do. I put WWE on the universal scale where you didn't. You weren't good enough. You were just a pebble in the world sort of argument. And we have The Rock beating John Cena in that feud, and first match, second time, we had Cena winning it and sitting there saying, I've got bragging rights over the entire situation. And then eventually I feel as though the way you ended yours is probably the same area where I would have ended it as well, with The Rock and Roman. With The Rock sort of indicating that, if Roman wants to be the head of the actual tribal, he's got to go through him. And Roman does do it, becomes head of the table, head of the family, and The Rock kneels to Roman as the Roman Empire builds. I know mine's a bit more chaotic and all over the place compared to Scott's, how do we say, more thorough planned. But that's just the way we organise certain things. Mine's I always fly completely off the seat. Scott's the planner when it comes to the actual production for the pre-booking and what ifs. So I'm going to say that's about a rough end.
It was good, Matt Baines. I enjoyed that. Thank you very much. What if The Rock never left for Hollywood in 2002? And again, what are your thoughts on Matt Baines rebooking? Get it in the comments below. You can hit subscribe. It's free to subscribe to the channel, so please subscribe to The Burning Truth. Like the video, share if you can, do all the good stuff. We'll love you forever.
Can I put a vote in already? Can I put my vote in already?
Vote for what?
between the two of us.
No, I don't think that's what it's about, Matt Beans. I think it's about understanding, how things could have gone.
Oh no! I wasn't going to go down the route of giving it to you because I'm going to fight for mine. That's what I was going to do on you.
Oh, funny. Yeah, I think for me, it's not about who's his best. It's about which ideas you preferred. So feel free to let us know in the comments, subscribe, like, do all the good stuff. And, maybe you thought this episode was top trumps. Maybe you thought this episode should be. Either way, we've really enjoyed bringing you something different this week, and we'd love your feedback.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And the best thing about this is, let's just point this out. If you like Scott's idea, that's fine. If you like my idea, that's fine. If you liked both, that's fine. If you like it, that's fine. The difference is
fine.
It's all good. The feedback that we get, and this is where I think this, as much as it is a versus, this is just goes to show with the what if is. This is what I love about this one with the verses. It doesn't matter which ones you like. It just puts a different perspective on what could have been. Because we've got yours. Yours is going down the route of, bitter. Is it bitter rock? Would you say yours is?
To begin with, it is bitter rock. Yeah, absolutely.
Where with mine was more a loft rock to reunion with family.
Yeah, and we both ended up in the same place with Roman Reigns, which was pretty cool.
That's the only way I could see it. And I thought I'd throw in the little add-on of, kneeling to Roman Reigns as his empire.
Kneeling to Roman Reigns. Yeah, and I think that brings us to the end of the episode, Matt Beans.
I think it's a perfect place to do it. And I will say it's a unique, different idea. But not only do we want to hear your view of our what-ifs, we want to hear what your what ifs would be, and if you've got any what if ideas, do us a favor, share them, let us know.
Absolutely. Let us know your ideas, post in the comments, free to subscribe, so please do it. If you want to find us on the socials, type in The Burning Truth and look for the championship belt. It's absolutely everywhere. You can find our blogs, all our other features. Go on, Matt Bean, sorry.
Blogs, merch, all that love and everything. Be it either listening to episodes and everything.
It's all over on theburningtruthuk.com, so you can find us over there. From me, that's everything. Thank you very much for watching.
And from me, I'm just going to say one thing that you must do at all times. Well, actually, two things, actually. Keep the fire burning, especially for the love of wrestling. And last but not least, DFTBA, which, of course, always will mean don't forget to be awesome.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.